Hello, everyone, and welcome to the sixth episode of this series of tips and tricks. We are working with the key fob and some surfacing around that. This episode is going to be all about this surface right up here, which is an embossed surface from the basic surface that we see here. So let's take a look at what we have. We've come this far with the basic surfaces, the surfaces around it, and we've also worked with some surface fillets. In order to create this embossed surface, we need to have a look at the canvas. Let's do that and put ourselves into a top view like so. So what we're looking for is to find this contour right here. And to do that, we're going to bring up our old curves from the very beginning and see what we can do with them. So I'm going to turn on the curves layer right here and make it pick that one to begin with. And it's curve number two. We've got two on top of each other there. So curve number two, like so. And we're going to bring up a tool, a really neat tool under curves called curve on surface offset, and bring up the options box as well there. Here we have a bunch of different, we can flip the arrows, the direction of the offset. Also, of course, the distance. So I'm going to bring it, well, maybe here somewhere, 4 millimeters or so. Um, there are a number of options here, and you can play around with those and see what happens. I want to keep the same degree on this curve as I had on this one, which was a third degree curve. So I'm going to put CV offset. Then it copies the distribution of the CV points from the original curve. Now, an offset is basically a copy of a curve at a constant distance from the original. You can see that the distance between these two curves is constant throughout the curves, in this case, 40 millimeters or 4, since we're working in a scale 10 to 1. So let's keep this one and start tweaking it to better match our contour here. So I'm going to go next, and then pick CV, and as usual, move my CVs around. And it has a construction history because of the offset, but we don't need to worry about that. So we do wish to continue. And then we can start moving our CV points around, something like that. Maybe this one needs probably to come out a bit. And this one is kind of hard to see, but I think something like this will do the trick for us. And again, I'm working with oversized curves, at least at this stage. And let's do the same with the top curve right there. So I'm gonna pick that curve, go curves, and curve on surface offset, and flip that arrow. I'm sorry. Oh, I can bring it down here manually as well, to try and hit this edge right here, something like that. This is a good time to create a new layer also, so I'm going to do that. Layer, new layer, and call it, what should I call it? Emboss, maybe. So this is our embossed layer, and put these new curves into that layer. So those two, and I'm going to make this layer a different color as well. So I press and hold that little square and choose a dark red one, like so. So now we know that the red curves belongs to our embossed surface. We have one more to do down here. So I'm going to pick that curve, curve number 4, curves, offset, like so, but make it go in this direction. It's kind of hard to see, but I don't want it to hit the radius here. So I'm going to bring it up way up here, something like that. Go next. Next, we are going to do things a little different compared to the outer contour here. Remember, we made oversized surfaces here and then rounded them off with the surface fillet tool. This time we're going to try a different tool, which we find under curves as well, called curve fillet. So we can actually create a curve catching this contour right here. So let's do that. Hit the first curve and then the second curve and auto update so we see what's happening. And we got a tiny little radius there, way too small. So I'm going to bring up the radius. Let's see if we can emulate this shape. No, we have that set to G1 tangent. Remember from the surface fillet tool, we used G2 curvature to get a really smooth transition between the two. And this looks a lot more promising. If we bring down the radius slightly, something like that looks nice, doesn't it? Radius of 6.5 at the top here. Looks nice. So let's keep that and also turn on the trimming of the curves. And then we go next. We can also turn off the CV points for these to see what we got. And we got a fair replica of this contour right here. Good enough for our purposes anyway. So let's do the same thing down here. So we go to curves, curve fillet, G2 curvature, and gonna try and trim this one here and here. Gonna work. There we go. And maybe here, like so. That looks pretty nice. So I want this distance between these two to constantly grow around this corner to end up with this distance right here. So that's really what I'm looking for when I'm tweaking this curve. But I think that looked uh, kind of okay. So let's keep that one and trim it. And we can also turn off the CVs for these curves. So now we have an outline for our embossed surface. Only thing is that it's sticking out here, but we really don't need to worry about that at this point. So let's go out to the 3D view and create an offset surface. An offset surface works the same way as an offset curve. So any any point on the surface, any given point on the surface has a constant distance to its parent. So if I go to Object Edit and Offset like that, and it's already set to always set to 1 millimeter, we need to bring that up to probably 10, since we're working in a scale 10 to 1. Once I've done that, I click Offset and I get a offset copy of the original surface. Note that the trimming of this surface comes along as well. So I'm going to untrim it for now. So I go untrim and all. Go. There we go. Now an untrimmed surface like this one has all of the curved surfaces used to trim it. So I'm going to get rid of these because I want to trim it with my new contour that I created down here. So pick nothing, pick curve on surface, and let's get that one, that one, that one, and I think there are two tiny little pieces there, and one up here as well. And we delete those. I want to keep this one along the symmetry line because I want to trim it along the symmetry line. Next thing to do is to project our new contour that we created down here. Remember the red curves? So I want to project those onto this offset surface. So let's do that. So I pick the surface, I go project, and now we need to be aware of the projection direction here, and we want to project it in the direction of Z right here, not the view, not X, not Y. So Z, which brings this curve straight up until it hits our offset surface here. And I can then start picking, or I can pick the surface. Oops, sorry, I did pick the surface. And then pick the curves right here. That one, that one, that one, that one, and also that one, and go project. Now I have curves on surface on my embossed surface right here. So let's trim it. We go trim and select the area to keep, and there is our embossed surface. If I bring on the picture here, it's this surface right here, which we can work with later on. Let's have a look at what this looks like really quickly and turn off the canvas as well. We can do it that way. You can clearly see we have an offset surface right there with this contour here. And that concludes this episode. Thanks for watching.